Welcome to Inner Flow Shift, where science meets spirit, and perception meets profound truth. I'm your host, Nick Comwood, and together, we're about to embark on a journey to explore the very fabric of existence, unraveling the mysteries of matter, energy, and consciousness. Here on Inner Flow Shift, we tackle into the big questions: what is reality? Is the physical world truly solid, or is it simply an illusion created by vibrating energy? Could everything we see, touch, and experience just be manifestations of a deeper, unseen truth? Whether you're a curious seeker, a scientific mind, or someone on a spiritual path, Inner Flow Shift is your space to expand your perspective and explore the interconnectedness of all things. So, take a deep breath, open your mind, and get ready to shift your inner flow. Welcome to today's episode of It Is All About Anxiety. We are going to investigate in depth from the lens of psychology, spirituality, and neuroscience with a powerful full story explaining the interconnectedness of anxiety. Let's start with a story. Daniel had always been an overthinker, his mind a constant battlefield of what-ifs. Every interaction, every decision, every moment of silence was an invitation for his fears to creep in. He worked tirelessly at a corporate job, striving for perfection, afraid that a single mistake would lead to failure. Sleep eluded him, his mind raced with endless scenarios of things going wrong. Anxiety was his unseen prison, tightening its grip with each passing day. Martha, his childhood friend, had witnessed his struggles. She, too, had battled anxiety but had found solace in spiritual wisdom. One evening, she invited Daniel for a walk in the woods. The fresh air, the rustling leaves, and the vastness of the sky above provided a stark contrast to the suffocating walls of his office. "Daniel," she said, "why do you fight so hard against what is?" "What do you mean?" he asked, his forehead creased with tension. "You're caught in a loop of fearful thoughts." "But have you ever asked, who is the one suffering?" she probed. Daniel hesitated. "Me. My mind won't stop. It just keeps going." Martha smiled. "But are you your mind? If you step back and observe, isn't there something beyond all these thoughts? Something untouched?" Daniel frowned, considering her words. He closed his eyes, listening to the sound of the wind, the chirping of birds, and for a brief moment, there was stillness. In that stillness, his fears seemed distant, as if they belonged to someone else. "This is what I mean," Martha continued. "Your anxiety is a storm, but you are the sky. The sky remains untouched no matter how fierce the storm. You don't have to fight it, just be aware of it." For the first time in years, Daniel felt something shift. The weight on his chest, which had felt immovable, lightened. He realized that his suffering was not who he truly was, it was just a passing cloud in the vastness of his awareness. Anxiety, whether viewed through the lens of psychology, neuroscience, or spirituality, is a force that can consume a person's life. However, understanding its roots allows us to navigate it better. While psychology offers practical coping mechanisms, neuroscience explains its biological basis, and spirituality provides a path to transcend it. By recognizing that we are not our anxious thoughts but the awareness behind them, we can break free from the cycle of fear and step into a more peaceful existence. Anxiety is a powerful force that can shape a person's experiences, thoughts, and emotions. It often feels overwhelming, as though it has complete control over one's life. However, understanding its roots and mechanisms allows us to approach it with greater clarity and resilience. Ultimately, by recognizing that we are not our anxious thoughts but the awareness behind them, we can begin to break free from the cycle of fear. Anxiety thrives on avoidance and resistance, but when we face it with understanding and self-compassion, it starts to lose its grip. A holistic approach that combines psychological strategies, neuroscientific insights, and spiritual wisdom can empower individuals to navigate anxiety with greater ease. While anxiety may never fully disappear, it no longer has to dictate one's life. Instead, with the right tools and mindset, it becomes a challenge that can be managed, understood, and even transformed into personal growth and resilience. Anxiety, like all emotions, is not something separate from us, nor is it something we need to resist or conquer. It arises within the field of awareness, just as thoughts, sensations, and experiences do. The mistake most people make is identifying with their anxiety, believing, "I am anxious," rather than seeing it as a passing phenomenon appearing in awareness. The belief that we are our thoughts and emotions. Anxiety thrives on this identification, creating a cycle where thoughts trigger emotions, which then reinforce those same thoughts. However, just to step back and ask, who is aware of this anxiety? The moment we recognize that there is an awareness watching the anxious thoughts rather than being trapped inside them, a shift happens. We begin to see that we are not the content of the mind but the awareness in which all experiences arise and dissolve. When anxiety appears, instead of resisting it or trying to analyze it, we can practice allowing it fully, without judgment. This doesn't mean indulging in anxious thinking, but rather observing the raw sensation of anxiety without labeling it as bad or something to fix. In doing so, we take away its power. It's not the anxiety itself that causes suffering, it's the resistance to it, the belief that it shouldn't be there. We see that all thoughts and emotions, including anxiety, are like waves on the surface of the ocean, impermanent, constantly shifting, and ultimately insubstantial. They come and go. But the awareness that perceives them remains untouched. Instead of seeking freedom from anxiety, this shows us that we are already free. It is only our identification with the anxious thoughts that creates the illusion of being trapped. Thus, the path to peace is not through struggle, but through direct recognition of our true nature. The more we rest in this awareness, the less grip anxiety has, until it is seen for what it truly is, just another passing cloud in the vast sky of our being. Now the question is, what is awareness? Awareness is simply the knowing or noticing of whatever is happening in the present moment. It's the part of you that sees, hears, feels, and experiences everything, but is not itself a thought, feeling, or experience. For example, when you feel anxious, there is something in you that knows you feel anxious. That knowing, that quiet presence behind all your thoughts and emotions, is awareness. It's always there, whether you're thinking, feeling, or doing nothing at all. A simple way to notice awareness is to ask, am I aware right now? The moment you check, you see that you are. That awareness is not something you create, it's what you already are. In psychology, anxiety is understood as a state of excessive worry, fear, or nervousness, often disproportionate to the situation. It can manifest as generalized anxiety disorder, panic attacks, or social anxiety, among others. Rooted in deep-seated fears, trauma, or learned behavior, anxiety often stems from an overactive mind, which is responsible for detecting threats. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, helps individuals reframe their thoughts to reduce irrational fears and regain control. From a neuroscience standpoint, stress hormones like cortisol flood the body, leading to physical symptoms like a racing heart, dizziness, or shortness of breath. Research suggests that mindfulness and meditation can help rewire neural pathways, promoting a calmer state of being. Anxiety arises from identification with the ego and the illusion of separation. Anxiety is seen as a product of the mind's attachment to a personal identity rather than an acceptance of the infinite present moment. When one realizes that they are not their thoughts but rather the awareness behind them, anxiety dissolves. Thank you for joining me today on Inner Flowshift. If this episode resonated with you, please like and subscribe the show, so that we can bring more insightful shows. I'm your host Nick. Until next time, stay grounded and stay true to yourself.